GmanLives recently uploaded a video reviewing the Doom Unity Engine port, and it was an interesting video overall, but as is pretty much my duty at this point, I have to point out some of the weird or flawed elements of this review, and hopefully you'll find this perspective entertaining.
One of the other main ways to play this thing is in what's been referred to as Doom the Unity Edition, a remake of the Ultimate Doom and Doom 2 that runs in, well, yeah, you guessed it, the Unity engine. Originally, this was only available for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and I'd argue that the people who were playing it on those platforms probably wouldn't have even noticed the differences between the Unity engine and the Tech 1 engine.
So right away we've got this thing where he's saying the game has been recreated in the Unity engine. That's not accurate. The Unity engine is just a wrapper for the actual original code, so the engine is completely the same. The fact that the demos play back the same, most people who are into the Doom community and that know that if it can play back the demos accurately, that means it's accurate to the original behavior of the DOS port. Right away, it just seems a little bit strange that he would say that, but anyway, we'll keep going.
It's come a long way since when it was first released, where it was launched with one of the most egregious inclusions of all time, forcing the player to have a Bethesda.net account and an internet connection to even play it in the first place.
Okay.
And there's just something so wrong about forcing someone to have an internet connection to play an almost 30-year-old game that just offends me on a subatomic level. But anyway, now that they've seemingly got a lid on all that shit, let's try to take a look at its current version and see how it plays, shall we?
Yes, we shall. I assume that's the point of this video.
Right, so I'm not going to go into a whole song and dance about Doom and what it is. I'm assuming most people playing this version are more than familiar with the original game at this point. What you got here is Ultimate Doom, which means you get access to all 3 original episodes, along with the 4th one, Thy Flesh Consumed, which is kind of like the Ringo Starr of Doom episodes.
What is that? I don't understand. Are you saying that it's like the important spine that keeps the entire thing together? Because that's what a drummer tends to be in a band. I mean, I know what you're actually saying. You're saying it's the weak one of the bunch or something, but I definitely disagree. Thy Flesh Consumed is a lot of fun overall. Yeah, it's a little bit anticlimactic since it starts with the 2 best maps, but I mean, it's definitely not bad.
And also with the Doom 2 version, you're getting the master levels. The master levels are okay, I guess, but it's really just a bunch of random WODs all compiled into one. So there's no real sense of flow with any of these. It's really just one map played after the other from scratch.
That actually sounds like a pretty accurate description of Doom 2, depending on your definition of disjointed. I personally think the master levels are okay. I mean, yeah, there have been better levels since, but it's definitely not that bad.
Regardless of the version you go with though, as soon as you start playing, the most noticeable thing with this version is that it looks about as vanilla as you could possibly get, aside from the fact that it can be run in widescreen and support high frame rates.
Okay, so widescreen and high frame rates are pretty big improvements over vanilla for the average person. I mean, I still like playing in DOS blocks, but that's definitely a big improvement.
There's so many settings and options to consider here that simply browsing through these menus is enough to make a man go crazy, causing him to lose his connection with reality, become a mindless wanderer, lost in the wasteland, running from both the living and the dead, hunted by scavengers, haunted by those I could not protect.
Okay, I get the joke. The ZDoom menus are pretty complicated, but I mean, it's not that bad, so long as you can read English anyway. I mean, screen size, I understand that. Gamma correction, yes. I mean, there's a lot of customization, but I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I'd rather be able to customize it than not customize it.
Despite there being lots of different resolutions to run it at, there's not really all that much of a difference between these, outside of the image clarity. I mean, the textures and the sprites still look the same regardless.
I feel like it's really weird to say that the only difference between different resolutions is the image clarity. Yeah, that's what resolution is. It's the amount of pixels used to draw something. It's a really weird critique.
Same thing with the ender level map screens. Now, instead of it just being letterboxed, they've extended the pixel art to the edges, which looks a lot better, and again, it's pretty seamless stuff. This is really one of the biggest new additions because despite there being so many different updates and ports of this game, this is somehow something that's never been done officially.
I'm really glad that he's giving praise to those images. I'm 90% sure they were made by Scuba Steve, by the way, and yeah, they are really cool.
In the latest patch, there's also the option for a crosshair. Not that that's really all that new or groundbreaking, and besides, I don't think you really need one in this game anyway. All you have to do is kind of aim at the direction of an enemy, and then the auto-aim does the rest.
Oh, there's a little bit of left to right auto-aim in Doom, but auto-aim is mostly for your up and down aiming. Also, like, don't need a crosshair, man. I mean, you can deathmatch without a crosshair, but it helps a fucking lot.
There's a new difficulty mode that's been added in as well called Ultra Violence Plus, which is kind of like a cross between Ultra Violence and Nightmare. Nightmare difficulty, I've always thought is more of a novelty more than anything else. I mean, the game itself tells you that this mode isn't even remotely fair. So what Ultra Violence Plus does is include some of the features of that difficulty, really just the faster enemy movement speed, without the utter bullshit of respawning enemies. For some reason though, it also adds in weapons from the Deathmatch mode to, I don't know, assist you with the increased challenge or something, which is kind of odd.
These weapons are also there, not just in Deathmatch, but in Cooperative as well. All that Ultraviolence Plus is fast monsters and multiplayer stuff. That's pretty much it. And the only difference between it and Solo Net with fast monsters is that when you respawn, all the stuff is still dead with Solo Net in most ports, whereas in this one, you know, it's like single player. It's basically just fast monsters and multiplayer stuff.
Considering that Ultra Violence though is really the ideal way to play Doom.
Whoa, Ultra Violence is the ideal way to play Doom? Who made that judgment? Whatever way is the most comfortable for you is the ideal way to play Doom. And for some people that's Hey Not Too Rough or Hurt Me Plenty. But for some people that's Nightmare. So yeah, I don't know exactly what that's supposed to mean.
Overall, this plays by and large the same as the original games. Why they didn't just spend that time to get the original engine working though is beyond me. But look, here we are and we're stuck with the Unity engine.
So that's the weird mistake there again. This is the vanilla engine in a Unity wrapper. It's completely compatible with vanilla. It's vanilla with high resolution basically.
A pretty minor change I noticed is that the sound effect that plays when you find a secret area is now different.
So it's different from how it is in ZDoom-based ports. The secret sound is different in Otomex, and there's no secret sound in the console ports, so yeah, I mean, it's different from GZDoom.
Another thing I noticed is that the music in the Unity engine version kinda sounds a little bit different. Have a listen.
Okay, so the main difference I'm noticing in the audio is that the Unity one comes with the actual SC55 samples for this music, which is, you know, the authentic way that Bobby Prince composed the song, and that GZDoom uses a weird version of the basic Windows sound font with the bass turned up way too loud and way too much reverb. Like, it would be better using the SCC1T2 or GM.SF2 or whatever. I don't know why it uses one with the bass jacked up way too loud. It makes a lot of the music sound, you know, incorrect from how it's supposed to sound.
I mean, it's still sure better though than the 32X version, that's for sure.
I'm sure that was done as a joke, but that was not how the 32X version sounded. It was bad, but it wasn't quite that bad.
One of the simplest changes this version has though is that it has medkits with crosses on them, which might not sound like much to some people.
Well, yeah, it doesn't sound like much to me because the medkits have always had crosses on them. He's talking about how they've been changed to green from red, which is really not a big deal.
Now look, I'm not condoning the Nazi party, and it's not really a huge deal considering it is a secret level, but come on man, when are they finally gonna get this level right? It's just ridiculous. You know, it might even get to the point one day where future generations don't even know that Wolfenstein 3D was a game that had a mecha Hitler you fought as a boss.
Okay, that is really ridiculous. Future generations are not gonna forget that. The vanilla version of Wolfenstein isn't going anywhere. It's been done so it can be sold in Germany. I know that there's been talk of Germany removing Doom from the ban list recently, which if that's true, then I'm glad about that. But either way, it's just been made so that places where the swastika and all that kind of stuff is banned can still have the game. It's good. You're talking about it as if it's a bad thing, but no, if more people can buy it this way, then I think that's a good thing.
It's about as bad as how they replaced all of the porno stores in the Nintendo 64 version of Duke Nukem 3D with gun stores, or the strip club to a burger joint.
Oh, come on, it's not as bad as that. That is an exaggeration. Come on.
The weapon wheel, or the weapon carousel as it's called, is also a good example of this. Added in to circumvent players having to slowly cycle through every weapon to get that one they want, whereas of course on the PC you just press one of the numerical keys. Now let me just say, look, if you're playing this on the PC with a controller at this point, you really are dead to me.
Gatekeeping, not cool, man, not cool. People who play with the controller are just as valid. In fact, one of my friends plays with the 360 controller. 2 of them actually, and they're quite good at the game. So I don't know what that's supposed to be. But I mean, by the way, Doom has been on consoles since Doom has existed, pretty much. The first console port was in 1994. People playing Doom with the controller goes back almost to the beginning of Doom. This just seems like a weird statement to me.
I am kind of surprised that they haven't added in any achievements for this thing either. Seems kind of weird to not do this, especially with the way they're trying to push the whole Slayers Club social aspect. Honestly, I think it would be really fun going back and playing through all of these and getting some of those more difficult milestones.
I agree with this completely. Achievements in classic Doom would be really cool. No disagreements here.
But by far, the biggest issue this version has though is that it just lacks any real proper mod support. You can go into the add-ons and load up any of the official authorized mods that this version supports. You've got your Final Doom, Double Impact, which is my favourite Van Damme film, and of course, Sigil, which kind of reminds me I should probably do another video on that.
Yeah, you really should, because the only other video of yours I think I've seen was your Sigil review. The one where you opened a door and let a Baron kill you immediately, and called it bad level design. That seemed kind of silly to me.
Anyway, my point is that you can only load in the mods that I guess have either been approved by id Software or Bethesda, and then you can't even load these in without a Bethesda.net account.
Okay. No, that's not true. You can load any vanilla WADs you want. Vanilla or most limit removing ones, I think, actually. That's really good mod support. There are thousands of vanilla WADs, and they are just as valid as those made for ZDoom.
At a time when we've got so many fantastic mods out there, like Total Conversions, like Shrine 2 and Solace Dreams, or I don't know, even being able to load up something simple like Brutal Doom. Something simple like Brutal Doom.
Something simple like Brutal Doom? You mean a mod that can only be played by 2 out of many currently developed source ports? That's not something simple. Brutal Doom is like a total conversion and then some. It changes everything. It uses high-level scripting, goes well beyond what dehacked or Beck's format would allow for. So yeah, Brutal Doom is anything but simple. And it seems like weird to say, like, putting down the amount of effort that Sergeant Mark put into it while also putting down a bunch of mods that are much simpler than Brutal Doom. At least that's how it comes off to me, and maybe I'm taking it the wrong way, and if so, I apologize, but it seems like you're expecting GZ Doom mod support, which is really advanced compared to basically every other source port. Any mod that runs in vanilla Doom, or even limit removing any level set, will run in this.
Not to mention, it just lacks basic multiplayer support. It has local multiplayer, which is again more proof that this thing was designed with consoles firstly in mind, but nothing outside of that. Having a cooperative multiplayer mode which pretty much can't be played here is just pointless. And even the Duke Nukem Megaton Edition had a basic co-op mode that they've added in. I mean, it was clunky as hell, but worked.
Well, for those of us who have friends who we see in person, I mean, granted, I know it's the coronavirus era, but I always thought split screen was really underrepresented in Doom source ports, and I'm really glad to see split screen support. Sometimes you and a friend, or you and a family member, or whoever, want to play through the game together, and it's great to have that option in my opinion. Now I agree it would be nice to have some multiplayer access built into the port, but that's really hard. Most of the multiplayer Doom source ports are client server, whereas the vanilla stuff is P2P.
How good would it have been if they just included some kind of rudimentary multiplayer mode? Even with a few deathmatch maps and dedicated servers, it would have been fucking awesome.
I'm still hoping for some officially endorsed deathmatch maps personally. There's a lot of vanilla deathmatch WADs out there made by people who are still active in the community. I think it would be great if people who are playing split screen had maps that were actually worth a damn.
As far as that goes, you're still going to have to rely on other options like Xandronum to get your Doom multiplayer fix, and that's often about as accessible as trying to ice skate on hot dog buns. I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means either, because Xandronum and ZDoom and Odomex, by the way, which you seem to be ignoring those 2 ports that have their own communities, especially ZDoom. I mean, damn, you're missing out on like a quarter of the active Doom servers if you don't have ZDoom installed. I'm just going to say that now, and they're all pretty easy. I made a long-winded tutorial about it that was 14 minutes, and even then, I think if I remade that video today, I could do it in about 7 minutes, so it is really, really not hard.
But I think the real reason this has happened is because this is a version of the game running on the Unity engine, as opposed to John Carmack's little wunderkind, and all of those GZDoom mods that have come out after it. Which, like I said, has proven to be one of the most versatile and flexible gaming engines of all time.
So GZDoom's engine has replaced most of the stuff that made the vanilla Doom engine what it was. So it's not really John Carmack's, and again, this is running John Carmack's engine. It's so bizarre. It's running John Carmack's engine in a Unity wrapper, and you're saying, damn, it's not John Carmack's engine which can run these GZDoom mods, which that engine is really advanced compared to the id Tech 1 engine. The GZDoom engine uses the id Tech 1 engine as a foundation, but it goes way beyond its original limits. I mean, way beyond.
I'd argue the only thing that's ever really come close to it is the Quake 3 engine and maybe the Build engine.
Yes, I agree. The GZDoom expanded version of the Doom engine is really easy to mod. I mean, the original Doom engine, relative to most games, the one that the Unity port uses in other words, is still quite easy to mod for compared to most other games that are out there. But GZDoom is way easier, and that's what you seem to be expecting, and this isn't GZDoom. This is vanilla Doom with a Unity wrapper.
And again, if you own the originals on Steam, which let's face it, you probably should, well, you're getting these new versions for free anyway. And complaining about that is kind of like buying an ice cream and then complaining that you got chocolate sprinkles.
I'm really glad to hear him say that. That to me shows perspective, and so, I don't want it to come off like I'm trying to trash him, because I'm not, I think he made some interesting points here.
This version still has a bit of a way to go if it ever hopes to compete with the likes of GZDoom and all the other widely accepted source ports.
That's the thing, GZDoom has mod support that all of the other widely accepted source ports don't have. You just ask GraphZol about that, he'll be sure to tell you. It's true though, like PR Boom has Boom support and vanilla support, which is nowhere near the extreme customization offered by GZDoom. Zandronum comes kinda close, but the codebase is 3 years out of date, so only about half of GZDoom mods will run in Zandronum. Then you got the Eternity engine, which unfortunately I don't know much about, but I know it runs Boom and vanilla stuff. The point of this is, most source ports don't offer the modding ability that GZDoom offers. Most source ports will let you do vanilla stuff, which is to say, level replacements, music, graphics, and dehacked, which means you can change some behaviors, but not that much. I find this criticism to be a little bit unfounded.
But if you're someone who doesn't care about all of that shit, doesn't have a Doom World profile link in their Twitter bio, and just wants to see what all this ripping and tearing business is about, well, then this isn't the worst way you can go about it. This is still going to let you blast your way through all 4 original episodes and all of Doom 2's levels as well. Ideally on Ultra Violence with gritted teeth and an erection in your trousers.
Well, I do think it will allow people to enjoy Doom. I personally don't have an erection in my trousers when I do it. I just enjoy the game. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video here. Like I said, not trying to shit on him, but a lot of the stuff he said seems to be really unfounded. Hopefully some of you out there will have learned a little bit from this, and maybe we'll even see you around here again soon.